the direction that I was. Well, hello. Welcome to our, what day is it today? Wednesday stream. Time flies when you're doing amazing on Kickstarter because of all you awesome people out there. In case you didn't hear, we hit $2 million yesterday, $2 million in 2 weeks.
2 million in 2 weeks. How is that even possible? I don't know.
I do not know. I think that officially makes us the fastest to hit the $2 million mark of any MMORPG on Kickstarter.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
we have to confirm, but I think that's true.
I'm pretty sure that's true. Yeah, it is pretty awesome, and the support that you guys have given us is unbelievable. We're going to go far with Ashes of Creation, making it the best possible MMORPG that we can, and we're not going to let you guys down. We're pretty excited about it.
The only way we can do it is with your guys' help. So thank you, and thank you.
So we have a pretty cool show lined up for you guys today. In fact, because we want to get around to the questions that have been posed on the forums and on Discord, we may actually run a little bit longer than an hour, which we're cool with. So we apologize if we're eating up too much of your life, but Ashes of Creation is just that exciting, and we cannot wait to answer all the questions that you guys have. And as a matter of fact, we have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Death's Proxy, who is one of our community moderators on our Discord and was a pretty early content creator for Ashes of Creation. He does some pretty cool videos. He has his own YouTube channel, which I believe is youtube.com/Death's Proxy, or just Death's Proxy?
I think so. Hey, he was making videos for us before we even knew we were live.
That's true. That is actually that is accurate. But he has some pretty creative content over there, and we're appreciative of his coverage. And I know if you guys haven't already subscribed to his channel, he has a great channel. But without further ado, we'd like to introduce Mr. Death's Proxy. Welcome to the Ashes of Creation livecast.
Hi guys, how you doing?
We're doing pretty good.
Doing just fantastic.
Now tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Death's Proxy.
Oh, I am a YouTuber. I recently started doing it only about 5 months ago or so. And I've been following Ashes of Creation quite exclusively for quite some time now.
Yeah, you have a pretty cool channel. I think you've gotten even some pretty big shout-outs from other
content
creators.
Surprisingly enough, I have,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You're growing fast. So you have some cool questions lined up for us today. I think they're mostly community-grabbed questions, right? So. From Discord, huh?
Some are community-based and some of them are on my own, but yeah, a lot of them are influenced by the community for sure.
Cool, very cool. I don't think I actually put an at everyone on Discord. Jennifer, do you want to do at everyone? Let them know we're live on what is this? Twitch?
It's been a long couple weeks for us, man.
It's been a really long few weeks. Sorry. Okay, so hit us with your first question, Deaths.
Right. Okay. Well, the first thing is, you have reached, the 2 million mark now on your Kickstarter. Quite impressive, the duration of the time. And, compared to other Kickstarter projects, which, not going to mention any specific names of these projects, but, you have within those, the entire expansion of the year they have been doing it, you have gained almost the same amount within 15 days. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Ooh, we feel surreal.
It's really surreal, right? Like I feel like I'm in a dream that I'm going to wake up from at some point, and I'm going to be real sad. But yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely incredible. The response we've gotten from the community has been incredibly heartening, right? It's we know we're working on the right thing. We know we're working on the right project. All our sweat and tears up until this point has been worthwhile.
Yes, and it's put things into perspective for us. I mean, this is a genre that we're passionate about, and from the support we've seen through Kickstarter, we know there's a lot of other people out there who are just as passionate about MMORPGs in general and the direction of the genre. And it feels really good to know that we're not alone.
Right. Yeah. It's a shared vision.
Yeah, exactly. It is an awesome feeling for sure.
That's great, yeah. So yeah, I'm going to go straight to it and talk about your next stretch goal. Well, the stretch goal you will, achieve soon, which is about the Underrealm race, the beast race you're keeping secret on, Can you, explain some details perhaps about this beast race? Give us some lore details.
It is a realm filled with bacon.
I like that.
Baconator confirmed.
Yeah.
Hey, Bacon, actually, could you turn down the desktop audio there by about on the stream by probably around 20% because
It's really loud in my ear.
There we go. I'd say it's perfect. Okay, so a little bit about the other race that we're going to be introducing. This is going to be a race that includes some beast-like qualities. It's going to be a race that in the lore fled to the Underrealm area in order to escape the catastrophes that were occurring, the atrocities that were occurring above ground. That's where they sought refuge. This is going to be a player race that will not be returning to the world, but instead will be coming to the surface potentially to interact with these newcomers that are coming.
Right. New parts of the world have opened up for them too, and so they're poking their head out from the Underrealm for the very first time in generations. So.
Absolutely, and another thing that is a little bit lore specific kind of is that these great divine portals, they just spooled up recently, and that's what's brought these people back to the world, and that spooling up of these portals has done some other things around the world.
Right.
And that's what kind of drew the attention of this race and brought their attention back to the surface to see exactly what's going on, because they've been so detached from that realm for a long time.
Is the catastrophe happening again, or is something else going on?
Yep.
That's great. That's an entirely new aspect to the whole thing, and I'm sure people will be streaming or discussing and speculating over this lore for quite some time. That's good news.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited we get to do it. It's something we wanted to do from the beginning, but just was kind of out of scope. And now Kickstarter has allowed us to readdress that and bring that actually to fruition. So.
Yeah, that's good. Right, I'm going to go straight to the next one. Social organizations, one of the Kickstarter stretch goals that you already reached, but nothing has really been said about them whatsoever. So could you kind of give us some details on those?
Yeah, so social organizations, as we've introduced them with this stretch goal, are really a very in-depth way for players to interact with the world around them in a different fashion. It allows for hierarchy progression paths within these organizations that relate to specific quest lines and story arcs specific for those stories, for those organizations, right? So, for example, we said something about the Thieves Guild, we said something about a Scholars Academy and a Traders Company, and those are going to, obviously, as the name entails, relate to different aspects of gameplay specific to those types of organizations, right? A Thieves Guild may have objectives that are quest-oriented towards securing some rare object for the organization in order to advance your place within that organization. There's going to be different tiers of advancement for your membership, and you're only going to be able to pledge membership oath or loyalty to one of these organizations and progress along those paths. Now, obviously, if you wanted to switch to a different organization, you may lose the progress you made in the organization you originally were part of, but you're going to be, again, working through this organization in a progression style, achieving those kind of different quest paths, items that may be involved with that.
And since we're not a faction game, I think it's really an important extra rider to your identity. The more things like this that are added, you get to formalize really who you are and what you are in the game. And since we're not a faction game, those types of additions are really important.
Yeah,
and there are organizations that will, have their own goals, have their own, things that they want to accomplish in the world, and then you as a player, of course, can figure out which organization fits you best.
Right.
And it's sort of like an open system that anybody can participate in. It's not just guilds. It's for everybody.
And it's all about creating those micro communities within the game, and as well as on the macro community scale, because as you're participating in achieving the events for a specific organization that may relate to the progression of building types within certain nodes all across the lands, or may relate to what specific bosses need to be down first, or what quests and dungeons need to be delved, and what objectives there are within that dungeon to bring back to the organization and stuff like that. The community's participating in that as a whole and on an individual level. So as the whole community relates to those organizations, it would determine that organization's progression along a macro scale. Right. And then your individual participation and achievement within the organization relates to your position in the hierarchy of that organization that might relate to what types of rewards you can receive from the organization, or how you can act on behalf of that organization, what titles and presences you hold among other participants in the organization and stuff like that.
And that theme of feedback and contribution is something that we really try to put in multiple facets of the game.
Right.
That's a really cool aspect of it, I guess. Yeah, I like the whole sort of micro community thing. I think it's a great idea to focus on. After all, MMORPGs are quite a social game, you know. So the more things like that, the better. I agree. It could be the best way to do about it, especially because it's optional. It's not something you're forced into. That's great, you know. Okay, I'm gonna move straight onto the stock market. Yes, your new.
Hey, Dennis Proxy, give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Can we turn him down just a little bit more? He's like my ear, or maybe my earpiece.
Yeah, I think all of them.
All of our
too.
earpieces.
I don't know if yours.
Mine's
is.
okay.
Mine's just.
I think I'm bleeding. A little bit.
I should have screamed.
Sorry about that. No, please.
You have us hostage
For
now.
the love of God.
Our ears are hostage.
Okay, sorry. I think you're good now.
Okay,
Let's try it.
Okay.
Oh, much better.
Your
That's
new
much better.
3 million stretch goal, the stock market. You know, it popped up yesterday when I looked at the page, and you know, I was expecting something more. I'm not going to lie, I was expecting something a bit more impressive for the 3 million. I was expecting something to amaze me. Don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure there's traders currently doing backflips about how impressive the stock market thing is. I mean, I'm assuming for them, it's like the ultimate thing for their end game, or, you know, their future progressive mesa content. But, you know, with that, because it's starting to reflect a real world economy, and there has been a game before, EVE Online, which did the same, reflecting in a very real world economy. Usually problems come along with that, you know, having such it being reflected in that sense. So as sorry, I'm losing what I'm talking about now. as you have real world economy problems, that means you're going to need people to deal with them. And EVE Online came across this problem where the economy was, you know, running out of control. People were manipulating it left, right, and center. Therefore, they had to, you know, hire people to micromanagement, you know. So what happens if that happens in Ashes of Creation? What happens if, you know, the economy gets to a point where it needs someone to micromanage it?
Well, if it gets to that point, then we've done a bad job on design.
That's true.
I don't think that it's going to get to that point. I think we have a lot of testing phases, but
We also have a lot of, you know, we've seen what's happened in
Right,
the industry, so
exactly.
we've got a lot of things to build on.
But most importantly, I think in relationship to the stretch goals, and some, you know, some people maybe not thinking it is as big as a new race. I mean, one of the most important things that that we're keeping in mind is obviously that scope creep thing, and
Right.
we definitely don't want to include stretch goals that are going to, as we feel from a development standpoint, present some type of roadblock on the time schedule of release
Right.
here. So obviously when we're introducing new stretch goals, we are very cognizant of that fact, and that has been an issue with other games that have gone to Kickstarter, and we won't name those games, but there's one in
right.
particular. So we obviously want to make sure that our stretch goals are cognizant of that fact. However,
I also wanted to say,
go ahead.
like, we wanted to hit all of our pillars with our stretch goals,
Right.
right? And this is the economic part of it.
Yes.
So-
Absolutely, that's true. That's
Yeah.
That's a good point. But I would say this: this stretch goal is very in depth. It is a very integral part. If we reach it, that's going to present a whole new element to the economic gameplay of the game. And I think it's actually maybe the term that we used in regards to like stock exchange wasn't the best term, maybe, but it communicated effectively what this entails on behalf of the players and certain organizations. So, I mean, to get into, I guess, a little bit of depth on what that system is going to entail. You know, there are 3 primary points of organization in the world. First and foremost are nodes, right? Second are going to be player-created communities like guilds. And then third are going to be social organizations, which aren't owned by any person, but are system organizations that players can advance in as a community and stuff. And what the stock exchange does, you know, it's not like a it's not like actual real world stock exchange thing. You're gonna have people sitting in the middle of metropolises with their smart pads, you know, buying and selling stuff and listing purchase orders. It's not gonna be anything like that. This is purely representative of the setting, of a medieval high fantasy setting.
Yeah.
And what happens is, as nodes develop to certain stages, potentially we're discussing probably around the 4th or 5th stage, there's going to be an opportunity for the player-run governments to potentially build a market, and that market may open up. And again, this is all pre-alpha discussion. We have alphas and betas to work on these specific designs and ideas, but that marketplace may then constitute a number of shares that players can purchase from that node that reflect its progress along certain metric scales relating to the advancement of the node, the trades that the node may accomplish, nearby resources that may be put into the node, quest lines that may be completed by the node, its progression against other node progression.
Right. The citizens' progression versus
citizens
other
progression, exactly. Purchases of real estate within the area and the progression of freeholds within the realm. All of these metrics are going to be measured, and they're going to be put against the value of stocks that are held for players within that node. The same thing is relatable to potentially guild organizations, and guilds will have to have kind of like a headquarters kind of thing where they, you know how players will declare citizenship. Well, potentially guilds are going to declare citizenship as well. So there'll be a patron guild of a certain node or something along those lines. Those group of guilds that may be patron guilds within a node are also going to be on the indexes for shareholders to purchase shares potentially of that conglomerate of guilds. And they don't have to be affiliated at all. They could be technically at war with each other too.
Right,
as long as they're headquartered within that node, that's going to be available at that marketplace or something along those lines. Right. Additionally, the progression of social organizations like the Thieves Guild or the Scholars Academy or the Traders Company, their dominance and movement throughout the world and what buildings get accomplished and what quest lines get discovered and what bosses get destroyed, what items get created, what things get unlocked is going to reflect metrics that apply to their shareholders and players participating in that game. So we wanted to introduce another element of the economy that this $3 million goal represents that is very in-depth and allows the players to participate not just through the artisan class, not just through their adventuring class, not just through the normal classes, but also gives sort of a mechanic that allows you to become an investor in these different systems and mechanics as the different communities lead them in different directions. Right. And we're very cognizant of the fact that anytime you're going to introduce an element where players can interact from an investment standpoint in the game with elements like gold and metrics that determine success and failure and stuff like that, there's a huge potential for players to come in and kind of game the system somehow. Mm-hmm. Right. And in that system, we can look of examples like Eve. We can look from examples that have come before us, like Jeff said, and we can also use the alpha and beta testing to make sure that we're not creating tools that can be manipulated incorrectly by the players. Right. I mean, it's something that's to the forefront of our mind when creating this system, but it's going to be a pretty cool system.
Yeah, and personally, I'm one of those economic players that you mentioned at the beginning of the question that is doing backflips. I'm not sure if I quite can do a backflip, but so one of the things that appealed to me on the player side when we've been talking about the system for a very long time, is just if, like Steve has mentioned metrics, I mean, sorry. When players are given metrics and different values, you're talking about a world of more perfect information. So they're able to, identify trends, even if you're not necessarily opting into the system as a whole, and this isn't your thing. The metrics are giving you, a window into what the server is currently doing, which is great on the player side and great for us, honestly, because when you have trends and you have metrics, you're able to forecast where the server is going, what's going to go on. And I think in the beginning you mentioned Eve, and to Eve's credit, they actually handle a lot of those problems in very intelligent ways.
Yeah, it's a great system.
Yeah, they really tackled a lot of those issues in a smart way, and I wouldn't consider that a detriment to them. I would actually consider it a positive. And I think in our system, with just where the economy is going and how the players want to opt in, it's actually really beneficial to them, for them to see this type of information and really run with it. And I think it'll be a great system for people who even aren't, the pure economy players.
Right. Like even if I'm not participating at all, I can still see how my node's doing. Right. Like I still have a kind of a functional thing that I can hold on to.
Yeah.
And the system is self-contained. It's not going to be a system that is creating new revenue into the system. Instead, it's going to be a balance between what gold sinks apply to this outgoing value. In addition, something we're discussing potentially. Ooh, I love the angel.
It's so pretty.
Something that we're discussing potentially is also, when sieges are declared against nodes, certain functionalities stop during that declaration period. These markets that exist within nodes, and they distribute those shares, those markets are going to be closed. Players will not be able to transition those shares when a declaration period is declared as well. So there's a potential for some economic sabotage of rival nodes, rival guilds to come in and declare against a node, knowing that they're performing so well in their economic indexes, and they want to shut that down.
That
Right, and I
sounds
think
good.
I see, like,
that sounds really good.
Agreed with that. Like, I think that a lot of players on the PvP and PvE side will actually be able to identify trends.
Absolutely.
And even though they might not be participating in the economic portion of that system, they are participating because they're identifying trends and seeing, you know, kind of reading the answers, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And
it's all about those feedback loops, right?
Absolutely.
Like every system touches every other system, and even though you might only participate in one, you're still affecting all of them. You're still affected
and
by
you have to
all
be
of them.
aware of them, right? Yeah, exactly. So it takes that two-dimensional plane of performance that is just kind of a little bit stagnant in the MMO community, and it adds a whole new element when you have to reflect on your performance and how you're doing in your micro community or whatever broader community, and that can make you a target. It can make you a target of rival of communities.
yeah, we could spend hours talking
I
about
know.
this. So maybe we should get to the next one.
We're geeking out. Sorry.
Well, the sabotage still sounds great. That has me intrigued. Okay, let's move on with this then. The homogenization of the MMORPG genre. You know, a lot of games have become very samey. They have the same content, but generally it's been altered slightly mechanically, or it's just been changed all that little bit. But generally we often get the same kind of content through all our games these days. And, you know, we know you have the node system, which makes your game quite unique. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty unique aspect of your game.
It is pretty unique.
However, what else besides the node system would you consider groundbreaking or revolutionary?
Well, we've designed a new AI where your computer actually gets off the desk and cleans your house for you.
That sounds great.
Fights Watson.
Oh man, exactly. Like Watson and Siri go at it. You know,
Right.
I think that you hit the nail on the head in regards to our node system. Our node system is a very revolutionary aspect of how progression works in a game, what type of agency players have, and I think that really is a backbone of our design philosophy.
Yeah.
Is that
I mean, that in and of itself really just kind of explodes how an MMO works and how people are going to relate to
Right.
an MMO.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty, like, that in itself is kind of explodey.
Yeah,
But
and
then I'd also argue that our storytelling system is going to be
for
pretty
sure. That's a good point.
revolutionary.
That is a good point.
Like the way that we're going to tell the story is going to be quite a bit more organic.
And having different servers with different stories.
Right,
Like
right.
that's, I mean, where is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's other MMOs have kind of maybe sort of kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's been a really long time since we've actually seen anything
But even
like
other
that.
MMOs that touch on that, it's more along the lines of like, hey, these are player-driven stories, like what clan took what castle and
Right,
stuff like that. This
right.
is actually going to affect the narrative of the world.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
And so people are going to experience some pretty drastic things
Right.
differently based on what server you're on. And I think that's going to be really cool for people
I
to
think that's
discuss that and how they got to that point and, you know, what road they traveled to get there.
Right.
I think that's going to be really different because I haven't seen that in any other MMO.
And I think another something that maybe is not unique to the game specifically, but to the company, is like we're coming at this from the perspective of a gamer. And we're getting really in depth with that community involvement and interaction, and making sure that those lines of communications are always open, so that we're not going to be that company that just makes you eat it and like move on. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that being at the forefront of what we're trying to do is something that's unique in the industry, not
Yeah.
from maybe a game perspective, but from just a company perspective.
I mean, certainly
too.
other people have talked about it,
Yeah, right.
but
do they follow through?
yeah, and I think we've shown so far that we
Right.
do a pretty good job
Oh,
of that.
absolutely.
There's always going to be times where we disagree and
I'm not
we'll
gonna-
have conversations, but
I'm not going to lie. There have been a few times where I'm laying in bed with my phone on Discord, and I'll partially fall asleep, and the phone will fall out of my hand and hit me in the face. That has happened on 2 occasions.
Right. Well, that's a good answer. Anyway, regarding the ultimate bonuses provided by metropolises, and we know that the scientific ones, for example, will give us fast travel opportunities. But what were the other bonuses of the other zones providers? What things do we expect from each one to provide for us that ultimate metropolis that we have developed?
Actually, give me 1 second real quick. Let's do, guys. Last time we did a live stream with what was it? What was the thing we called TeamViewer? When we TeamViewered in, walking through that metropolis in that zone, there were some FPS issues because of TeamViewer, and we just wanted to make sure that you guys had an opportunity to see that in-game kind of, walking around that area, showing you a little bit of the environment and the massiveness of the world. So I made sure that Tristan was able to
make a recording.
Right, make a recording of that. So if we want to actually play that over as we're talking a little bit here in the Q&A.
The metropolises and the bonuses. Yeah.
I think we spoke a little bit about in the series part 1 about metropolises and bonuses of 2 specific types.
Is that
Okay.
Are we back?
Are we back? Is it garbled?
okay,
Can you hear it
guys?
okay?
Is it better? Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Technical issues. Stand by.
Everyone, hold on. Stand by.
Hang on, guys.
How about now?
Well, is it okay
volume
now
better,
without the
Jennifer?
video?
Can you hear it?
Now we can hear everything?
Okay.
Woohoo!
And
The
what-
volume on that clip must have just override everything.
okay, can we turn the volume off on the clip?
I'm looking for it. It's all kind of merged together in the desktop.
Oh, I hate when it does that.
Are you playing it through like a Windows Media file or?
Yeah, but it's just on desktop audio. Hold on a second.
Try it again. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing. 1, 2.
Okay. Turn it off. Yeah, that's it. Yes, turn it off. All right. Okay, we'll
Well,
try to
that's
keep
disappointing.
figuring that off. Yeah, I don't know why there's audio on that. If we could just turn the audio off on the
I think
on
it captures
the file.
everything.
I just did, but it's like, it's
Okay.
I'll have to play with it.
That's okay. We'll try to play with that later. Okay, so in response to your question about the nodes, that's still something that we're actually designing right now. Are those Metropolis level specific bonuses? We have a lot of different bonuses that we're looking through, and we're actually probably going to be playtesting a lot of those in alphas and betas.
Yeah.
Those different bonuses to see which
Yeah.
are most balanced between the four, and which actually offer players the ability to really use those bonuses, I guess.
Right, right.
The
And it's-
Metropolis.
Go for it.
The Metropolis is just such a just such a macro scale builder, like a town, right? It's just
Right.
like a huge endeavor, and we want those to be equal to that.
Meaningful too,
Right.
yeah.
Meaningful to that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, we want these to be world-changing things, so we have to be real careful with
right,
that.
a lot of balancing with them.
Yeah.
as well.
So you're still deciding on what you can actually apply for bonus-wise for these things.
We have
Yeah.
a long list of all the different types. We've nailed down, I think, 2 of them potentially. Of course, we're going to be testing them, but we don't want to really
Okay.
don't wanna
jump
give
the
people-
gun. We don't want
yeah.
to jump the gun on that. That's something that we're still
No,
discussing.
we'll move on from that one anyway. Right, you have quite an interesting class system, and I'm not talking so much about the combat classes themselves. You've already talked about those quite a lot. But I'm more talking about the fact there's going to be combat classes, there's going to be an artisan class, there's going to be a religion class. So will this be expanded on further instead of having, the level cap raised at some point? Will we have just more classes like that added to the game?
It's definitely possible and probable. It's we've got enough space there in what we've designed so far that there's plenty of opportunities to kind of like continue to build that out. We don't want it to go crazy and like if make another class just for the sake of making another class. We want to make sure that there's actually good space for it and that it makes sense. It's something that we'll be able to talk more.
I'm going to step away for just a moment and see if I can help fix that gameplay thing.
Okay, sure thing. Hang on, I just lost my train of thought.
The classes. I mean, so it's just like another balancing question, right? I mean, when you talk about adding more classes in general, you know, the answer is, of course, always possible. But you know, there's implications. There's a push-pull to every type of thing. So.
I would say it's more than possible. It's very probable.
Right.
It's just about finding the right time and place to do that. And I mean, that's going to be an expansion kind of question, or a game update kind of question when we get to that. But again, it's very likely. And when we talk about the level cap, almost certainly that's going to get raised as time goes on, and as we add more content to match that.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on from that again, and we will talk about naval content. And we know you originally announced with the game that naval content will be a thing, but nothing has been really said what the naval content will involve. So, what kind of content can we expect with naval?
My belly button. Right. So a nice orange. Everybody will get oranges. So we're talking about like putting actual content in the seas.
Yeah.
We're talking about you know, stuff that happens under the ocean, stuff that happens on the ocean, island chains that we've got planned,
Right,
and
node
then trade routes
implications.
and ships are our other big part of that.
We're trying to, I mean, like most of our things, we're trying to hit every single pillar that's important to us. Economy is a very important pillar. So, you know, I think like Jeff mentioned, trade routes is going to be a large part of that as well. Yeah, got a lot planned for it.
Yeah. And it's going to, the reason why we did it as a stretch goal is because it really, like, it's a system in and of itself. When you're talking about all the space that oceans kind of represent, it's a lot of stuff to fill and to make interesting, you know, so that you're not just traveling on the ocean for 10 minutes and nothing's happening.
Right.
So we want to make sure that there's plenty of events and stuff that happen out there, the ability to explore it, right, and to kind of figure out, you know, what happened on these oceans. Was there a civilization here? Was there, you know, an Atlantis equivalent that sunk to the bottom? There's all sorts of things that we're going to answer there with the ocean part of things.
Great.
Okay, I think it's fixed.
Think you got it?
I think I got it.
Sweet.
Is the video up, I think?
Tech support, Steven.
I know, right? Let me fix this now.
Go for it, Desproxy.
Okay. In regards to further naval combat, what about ships? Are ships going to be something that are going to be quite realistic to control, or are they going to be more, you know, arcadey in the sense to make it simplistic? Will we have to have crew members, you know, lower sails and raise sails, or will we just have to press W on our keyboard and left and right?
So how complex is our ship thing going to be?
I think we're interested in moving that in the direction of potentially a profession, right? That players might be able to advance in regards to specific abilities that relate to seafaring activities. You know, treasure finding and underwater adventuring, and then, gosh, the stupid thing.
He was talking a little bit more about the actual like mechanics
ship
of the
control.
ship. Like whether it's going to be like a physics-based engine or if it's going to be
got it.
more arcadey.
Got it.
Physics is always really tough, right? And especially in an MMO, physics becomes even harder because you have to worry about, you know, making sure all the clients can see like what the physics are doing at the same time. So we will probably do a sort of simulation of those physics. We're not going to have like wind speed and, you know, tacking and kind of really technical sailing.
Right, because I mean, ultimately, when you start to include those aspects from a physical standpoint, that's when you may start cutting into performance issues on the player's end.
Yeah.
And we definitely don't want to do that. There's ways to simulate that, as you were describing, without actually including the hard physics of it being rendered.
Right.
And those types of things you may have seen, you know, in other games that have sea-based stuff. You know, you can have events that occur in the water that will affect the ships around it, but necessarily aren't physical-based.
Right.
You can have, you know, ships that move north and south faster than other ships or different directions, or time of day, or stuff like that, without actually having it be rendered out on a physics engine, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm having a ear
So yeah,
issue.
we're going to go for a simulated realism.
Okay,
on that.
simulator. That's great. Yeah, good. So in regards to that, what you mentioned there, is that possibly we'll see a naval class, you know, a specific class for naval-based content?
I think a
Probably
naval
not
profession.
a class. It'll be more of a like, yeah. So it's kind of limited in scope, but allows you to sort of get better at sailing, or get better at supporting a ship,
Right.
or get better at firing your cannons.
Did you just reveal cannons?
I didn't actually. Did I?
That was not a word we
I'm
used.
sorry. I'm taking that away. Sorry.
The cannons shoot arrows.
Great.
Americans
It was accidental
Sorry.
reveal.
Please don't fire me.
Don't worry, I think you're safe. Yeah, so I think that what Jeff was trying to say is there are professions that relate to on-ship experiences. That'll make you better at those things, and may even unlock different types of skills associated maybe with those professions.
Right.
Who knows? It's going to be pretty in depth. It'll be cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I've been bombarded almost by the community about camera-based questions. Cameras this, cameras that. After watching some of the gameplay footage, or just generally cameras. Everyone's interested in cameras this week. I don't know why. But basically, want to know, what kind of camera options will we have? We'll be able to customize the cameras heavily. We'll be able to change the FA view. Can we change the zoom level? Can we have director's level cameras that we can see away from our character, or zoom out quite far? Will we have, see things like NVIDIA Ansel technology, for example, being used and optimized?
I think our goal is to provide a lot of versatility when it comes to point of views and cameras and stuff like that, and I think the engine can help a little bit with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyways,
Unreal does cameras really easily and really well, but
that's kind of like the icing on the cake. And
Yeah,
we're still
it's
making the cake.
It's more of a polish question.
Yeah.
Like when we get to that point and we really start nailing down like what that experience is going to be like, we can better answer those questions. It's because it's really about polish at that point. We really want to make sure that we have the content to support that polish.
Right.
We want to have
making
an
the
awesome
cake
game,
still. Yeah.
then an awesome camera, not an awesome camera, then an awesome game. So the answer to that is we definitely want to give people as many options as they want. And Unreal will help us a lot in providing those options. Yeah. What those options will be, I don't know at this point.
Okay. Well, let's move on to PvP. Everyone loves talking about PvP, right? It's a contention point for sure. Now, in terms of open world PvP, this game seems to be very open world focused. However, you do have 1v1, 3v3, 5v5 arenas planned. And my question is, will that kind of detract from the open world aspect that you're promoting? I mean, why would someone go search for PvP when they can just instantly get PvP while staying inside a town?
That's a good question. I think that when asking that question, it's important to note that exactly what does our open world PvP entail? And one of our pillars, as we described, wasn't called PvP, it was called meaningful conflict. And the reason why it's meaningful is because you're going to accomplish certain things in the world relating to PvP that you will not be able to accomplish in the arena.
Right.
The arena is kind of like taking a break from the open world,
right.
Maybe testing certain builds of armor and weapons and just, having that conflict whenever you want to.
It's a one-off session-based thing,
exactly.
Right? Whereas the open world stuff is you're actually accomplishing something that's going to change the game forever.
Exactly.
You're fighting for a castle.
So what's at stake is much higher in the open world, the arenas are going to be much more self-contained. You're also not going to probably get the scale that you're going to get in the open world that you would get in an arena.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's a totally different experience. I mean, in some games I've played, you call people arena junkies.
Yeah.
Right? And like,
I've been one.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have those arena junkies want to participate in the open world events because there's consequence there. There's meaning there.
Right.
Castle sieges and the sieges against nodes, or the caravans, or collecting those rare resources and stuff like that, or guild wars that are going to be a matter of honor and have objectives and stuff like that. It's a completely different experience, and I think that the arena system will not detract from participation in those systems.
Right, and it's one of the reasons you might so why do we put arenas in if open world PvP is going to be so important? Well, it's because we want people to have options in the game. Like, you're not going to want to do open world PvP 100% of the time.
And those are the training
and not
grounds.
100% of the people are going to want to do that 100% of the time.
And those arenas are training grounds, so to speak. I mean, I know that sometimes when I participated in arenas, like, there's obviously arena boards, and sometimes I wouldn't get up on those boards so high.
That's okay. It's okay.
I would still
We still love you.
I would still participate in those events because I would want to hone my skills. I would want to play with different builds, different combinations, or whatever the deal may be. That was my training ground, you know. And then when it mattered, I was out on the field.
Right.
But I was really mainly the speech guy. Like I would just give the, you know, the like speech to rile the troops and stuff,
Charisma check.
right? And then I would like run onto the field and get one shot. And oh, okay, there's me. No, I'm just kidding. I was a beast.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have seen the infamous Steven's speech videos.
Oh yeah.
Moving on from that, I'm going to ask you a question about lore, and I have asked you this question so many times I've probably lost count at this point. But do we have a name for your world yet? The world that your residents will refer to it as?
I'm the Fort Knox of our lore.
He is.
And they just constantly come with these like arrows trying to peg at the wall, and it's just like,
Nope.
All will be revealed when you, you know, like. So, name of the world. That's a great question. I mean, we have a very specific schedule when we want to start releasing some setting lore.
Right.
Right. Setting lore is a little bit different than story. Obviously, we really don't want to ever reveal story until you get in there and get to experience that story. But when it comes to the lore of the setting and why you're here and what has happened in the past to bring you here, you know, knowledge that you should know when you first step through that portal, that's kind of stuff that I think we have a very scheduled plan to release that stuff. And it's close.
That's close.
It's soon trademarked.
Soon.
Right.
TM.
Soon. TM.
Soon
I
TM.
will eternally wait for the lore. Right.
So we keep you on the hook. That's what we do.
Wow.
Right, so moving on from this, I noticed, you know, in some of your streams, especially with the Jealous quite recently, that you wanted to, you know, keep your lore quite secret, but at the same time you said you wanted to turn your lore into a franchise. And I find the fact that you said that specific word insinuates several different things. Because a franchise is not just a single game. A franchise sort of expands beyond just a game. It goes into merchandising, books, all kinds of things, including other games.
Yes.
So do you have any plans in that sort of regard for franchising?
Okay, so
Okay.
So you know, me personally, I'm of the opinion that this story that we're bringing to life with Ashes of Creation is a very in-depth one. It has a lot of different aspects to it, and I personally, you know, when diving into creating Intrepid Studios and bringing Ashes of Creation to life with this awesome team here, I knew from the get-go that this was going to be a franchise. I knew that this IP we were creating with Ashes of Creation is going to be revealed in many different ways and have a lot of different components that people can just eat up.
Yeah.
And I want to do that with a lot of different aspects, not just Ashes of Creation. But it's important to note, Ashes of Creation is the flagship, the dedicated, get this right, this is what we're bringing to market to represent the story that will have a greater franchise, and you're going to see an amazing MMORPG out of our story.
Right. And then once that happens,
Exactly.
then we move on to those
Right.
other products that we're considering. We've actually had discussions about it in our studio about things that we want to do, because there's all sorts of part of the story that we can't really tell in the MMO. You know, there's timelines that are occurring, you know, in multiple different places that we want to focus on, we want to be able to tell, but we can't just tell within this one game. So
And there are heroes and villains that
Yeah.
we want to focus on and stuff like that, you know, that want to have their story told, but not
Right.
necessarily can be told in the MMORPG.
And it's one of those things that I've always been told as a writer, is to always tell the story of the most interesting time of your characters' lives. And we've got so many different characters, we've got so much time to
Right.
cover, we can't do that. Right now, Ashes of Creation is the most interesting story we can tell.
Absolutely.
But then there are plenty of other stories that are great, and I think you guys are going to want to hear once we get to that point. So
And the greater the franchise, the more it feeds back into the MMORPG.
Right.
Right? So like, this is a full scope project, you know, that is going to entail all those different facets.
Good. Does that mean we're going to see a Dungeons and Dragons Ashes of Creation like edition?
Nice.
That'd be awesome.
Down that.
that would be awesome.
Hey, there's a divide though. Is it Pathfinder or D&D?
Oh, don't even. We don't need to get into
don't need this debate.
Put my vote
I'm not
for
going to take
Dungeons and
sides there.
Dragons
Not going to take
guys.
sides.
Right. Okay. So I've watched through a lot of the Q&As. I've been playing catch up this week to try and review all the content, so I haven't asked any repeat questions. And I almost felt sad for a certain group of players recently because no one has actually asked any questions for the role players. And I know that you, Stephen, yourself are quite a role player, and I know Bard from here has, excessive EverQuest roleplay.
Excessive. I didn't
hear
get
him
the
say
term
that.
excessive. You
I
got
would say the exact amount. The appropriate amount.
Just the
yeah.
right.
He
yeah.
enjoys his roleplay content. He really does like that aspect. So,
That's true.
what kind of elements will you have available for role players to tell their stories, to show their love for RP, how they can express themselves using in-game mechanics and functions? What will you offer them?
Well, I think that something that's pretty cool about what we're doing here at Ashes of Creation is we're expanding outside of just your typical adventuring class kind of progression in the game, and we're including things like the utility aspect. In addition to utility, we're also going to include different social interactions and abilities and skills that are going to be possible, like potentially musical playing with different instruments and/or dance and storytelling, and having those Easter eggs out in the world for role players to kind of interact with. And
It's one of the reasons why we're putting in the social buildings to begin with.
Yes.
We wanted to make sure that there are spaces that players can gather and tell those stories and to share those community experiences, and then to also affect the game too, right? We want somebody to go hang out at an inn, to go maybe find some player-generated quests, to eat some food that somebody else created for them, to spend a couple minutes there, and then have other people gather
and
there
have
as
that
well.
food mean something too, because it took something for that player to make that plate you're eating. Right? Like they had to harvest the potatoes and cull the sheep and get the meat and stuff like that, and then now here's your plate of food, but it means nothing in other games or something. You know what I mean? Like here we want players from not just a role-playing perspective, but it's going to relate to role-playing, to own a part of their identity. If you're a shopkeep, if you're an innkeeper or a cook or a chef, it's not just
or if you run a dance hall, or if you
a theater, whatever the deal may be. These are components that lend to the RPG aspect of the game. It's one thing to make an MMO; it's another thing to play towards that RPG. And I think role players play an important part of bringing RPG to life for a lot of different players.
And nodes too. Like when you're a citizen or you're in the government, you're forming your own pocket communities that, the role players I think are really going to take advantage of to, make their own identity there.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah. Now, I'm going to take full advantage of the fact that you haven't been vetting these questions, and that's a great thing for me.
Oh no!
Regarding
Sorry, we're out of time.
We're out of time.
We're at 3:50 right now.
And have a great day.
So regarding pay to win, a very special subject for Stephen here, and we know that you advocate a very anti-pay to win stance, and you know that yourself that you are extremely against the concept of pay to win, and you've had very bad experiences with several different MMOs and companies behind them. So my question is, what happens when Intrepid themselves faces ultimate financial ruin? What happens when the subscription numbers, the cosmetic cash ups are no longer enough to support your game and future content? How would Intrepid respond to a situation like that?
Financial ruin?
Oh my goodness!
So dire.
Let's edit these questions. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so first of all, if Intrepid Studios comes into issues with the game, which I think is very prevalent. We have it over the past 2 weeks. We have a very great interest, and we have the ability to deliver. But aside from that, if ever it were to be the case that the game were on financial hard times, I don't think throwing garbage at the game would help us, right? Which is what pay to win is.
I mean, if you think about what happens there, right? If our game is already doing badly, that means we've done badly on the design side. That means we have not provided to players the game that they want to play. And by throwing pay to win at that as a
gonna
way
fix
to
that.
grab money doesn't help. That accelerates the death of the game. So I mean,
We would have to take a really hard
I don't know
look.
what we would do in that situation, but
Well,
it certainly wouldn't be.
We'd have to take a really hard look at as to why we would be in that
Right.
situation.
What did we do wrong?
It's about adding
and
fun
then fixing
back
that,
into
Right.
not introducing an element that ruined the genre for the past several years.
Right.
That wouldn't help the situation.
No, I mean that's
it would just
doing
accelerate.
pay to win in that is a really short-sighted and short-term band-aid to what would be, a problem if you're really talking
Right.
financial ruin, right? So you're trying to add fun back to the game. We'd have to identify what's going on, why it happened, and
I mean, you can take a look at Final Fantasy as a
Right,
way.
that's a
like,
great
they
story
did a
for that.
great way of recognizing that there was something wrong with the game and then fixing it. Of course, that took a lot of money on their part, but
140.
right.
but at the same time, like they did it the right way.
That's true.
And we would have to do something similar to that in order to get people to come back. I mean, pay to win is not going to get people back. You know what I mean?
Right.
It'll just
It's such a
kind of
short-term answer.
mess with the people who are currently
Right.
still there, right? All of a sudden, your most loyal people are getting screwed.
I think
right?
the most important aspect of this question is, from a financial perspective in the games realm, we have clear objectives, and we are dedicated and passionate to making this project be the most successful MMORPG. I mean, we're really, like, as gamers and MMORPG players ourselves, like, our goal is to create a perfect product that is going to attract MMORPG players just by building it. If we
Right.
build it, they will come, right? So I mean, obviously, if we mess up in that regard, we're going to have to go back and evaluate where the mess up was.
Right.
Not introduce another element that's going to screw it up
Right.
Right.
And make it worse.
and make it worse.
Amazing,
Exactly.
yeah.
If we're in the dumpster, it doesn't help to be in the truck.
To set it on fire.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say to be in the dump truck.
Yeah.
You want to set it on fire. Exactly.
That almost wraps up everything I needed to ask. So yeah,
cool.
thank you for answering all my questions, guys. I will
Thanks for
probably
being on there.
prepare
Great
more
questions.
if this can ever happen another time. I have a never-ending supply of questions, trust me.
Very cool. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you very much, Death's Proxy. We appreciate it. And
Yeah,
for those of
awesome.
you who aren't subscribed to Death's Proxy's channel, he's a great content creator. As Death, you want to give a plug to your channel?
Yep.
I don't know what the URL is.
Ooh, sorry.
I don't know what the URL is.
Oh, the URL? It's just YouTube /Death's Proxy. That's all it is. Very easy to go
Okay,
there.
sweet.
Check out my
Perfect.
content, see if you like it. If not, you can just ignore it. It's pretty trashy. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Proxy. We appreciate it, and we would love to do this again in the future.
Yeah,
buddy.
that was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
We're going to have to vet his questions though next time.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Financial ruin.
Right.
All right, let's throw down that Skype window, and then also, I think we had a meme contest.
Did we have a meme
Did
contest?
we have a meme contest?
I think we had a meme contest.
Uh-oh. Let's do a meme contest.
Do it from Slack. I left my phone on my desk.
Oh, I think, yeah. I'm sorry. Do we have the meme pictures?
Yep.
We have the meme pictures. We have the winners.
It's just the names are in Slack.
Oh, the names are in Slack.
Go
Are
get your
they
phone.
in this Slack? You put it in our Slack? Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh.
Let me see if I can pull up
my
the
phone on my
names.
desk.
Wait,
I think I can make it happen.
Where is it? Design?
Which channel did you throw it in, Jen?
I gave it to you personally.
Oh, I need my phone, sadly.
Okay, you want to go? Which one is your phone? Just take your headset off, and then you're good.
Oh, it's
the
my
cracked one, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, it's under. Yep.
All right, hang tight. We're getting to our meme
passing
contestants.
it.
Thank you.
So yeah, we did a contest last week for players on our forums and on
It
Discord.
was incredible.
They
Like,
were
I'm dying
hilarious.
every day.
Yes, they were hilarious.
Every day.
We have some very talented memers out there.
Is that the name for them? I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the name for them.
memers.
That's the profession.
Memers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Professional
I think
memer.
there's a reference to memes, but I can't think of it. Anyways, yeah, we got some memers out there who did some pretty good jobs, so we're going to show them right now. And they win. What do they win? A brand new car.
Right.
No, wait, what was it?
Alpha key.
Oh, an alpha key.
alpha key.
Well, that's better than a car. So, all right.
Fact.
So first up, we have the winner. It's Always Sunny in
This is
Ashes
by
of Creation.
the user Renowned Meme.
Renowned meme. Well
What
done.
foresight.
You get an alpha key, my friend. This is pretty funny. I like it. I love, Jeff, that you have that beautiful hair.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It's really great.
It's very nice.
I used to have hair like that.
I'm not a fan of my blazer, but you know. It's okay. What's our next one? One does not simply create the perfect MMO.
Hold the cup. Hold the cup.
Nice. Well done. I like that one too.
By Drive
Who?
Guido?
Drive Guido. Drive Guido. Cool. Next one. Alpha Key. Well done.
It's Kickstarter time.
Oh no.
This is by
Is that a wallet?
Timon.
That is a
Is
wallet.
that kid a wallet?
That child is a wallet.
That's horrible.
Oh man.
I don't wear wife beaters, just to be clear. All right.
That's a lie. He does.
I do not.
This is by Adam J.
Pay to win with a
JY.
sword of Jeffrey and some bacon and sandals. Hey, look, I forgot King Leonidas has actually sandals there.
He does. He
That's
does.
very nice. That's very nice. Who is that?
Adam JY.
Adam
1, 2, 3, 4,
JY.
5.
All right. That is
That's by
awesome.
Falcons.
I love that.
This might be my favorite
That's a
one.
great
I
one.
think that's my favorite one too. I love the eye of Sauron. It's just up there. All right, very cool. Who's that?
By Falcons.
Falcons. Well done, Falcons. Oh, the Bacon Moonstrider.
So good.
Baconator on a Bacon Moonstrider.
That's
That's
by-
double bacon.
Victe.
Victe. Very cool.
Very nice.
Those are our winners.
Well done, everybody.
Well done,
Thanks for having
memers.
us laugh. It was amazing.
Well done, memers. Okay, what is up next? We had some questions from the
Yes.
community.
It should be up there when he puts up.
Okay.
There they are.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Jay Solo asks, will players be able to import images into the game to put on in-game objects like sails, shields, and cloaks? So I think our preliminary answer to this is going to be no from the out-of-game pictures. I think we're going to have a pretty in-depth symbol creation system in the game. That's going to allow for a lot of customization and representing either emblems for your guild or for your city flags and for custom armor and
Right.
cloaks and that kind of stuff. But the issue that we have with bringing in images from out of the game is that one, from a customer service standpoint, having to go through those and making sure that they're not
Each one is approved.
right.
Yeah.
Each one is approved, and then two, it kind of is a breaking of the immersion.
Yeah.
Like if I'm running around and I see, a Dairy Queen image on the side of a building,
It's funny, and I like it.
I
Right.
want to eat there. Like, I would love to get a bite to eat, but it just breaks the immersion a little bit. Never Muse asks, what will the in-game chat system be like? What will the channels be? It's a good question.
So, I mean, we're talking about integration, right?
Yeah, we're talking about
We're talking
integration
about it.
of-
We're not quite sure.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's going to be very in-depth. And channels are going to be, you're going to have your standard trade channels, you're going to have your general area channel, you're going to have a party and raid and guild, and maybe even social organization. If you're a part of
Right.
the Thieves Guild, you could have the Thieves Guild only channel. If you're a citizen of a node, you'll have that node citizenship channel only. That's how that's going to look like.
And we're also planning on having
The voice over IP.
Voice over IP.
Yeah, voice over IP for parties and for raids and maybe for guilds as well. And the reason that we want to do this is because it's a cool thing to implement. It adds an additional layer of connectivity between members of the community.
Right.
Right? That you don't have to go out of the game and join a TeamSpeak server or a Ventrilo or a Discord or whatever the deal may be. You can get that interaction just in the game by becoming a member of a party or becoming a member of a raid. And there's going to be a lot of functionality there for, you if you don't like what somebody's saying, you can just click on their name and mute them. You know what I mean? Or you don't want to hear the raid talk, you can mute the raid. But for those who do, it's there. Who's the next one? No Spark. Boy, I need to get new glasses. Can guilds have more than one guild leader? So the answer to that is no. There's going to be one designated guild leader. However, there will be a wide variety of different abilities that guild leaders can assign to certain ranks and roles within the community to participate and delegate those leadership responsibilities to.
Right.
From day one, we wanted that to be extremely extensive. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge extensive there. But also, there will be an ability to transfer leadership as well
Right.
of the guild if you wanted to. Dirty Human. Aw, that's sad. How extensive will enchanting be, and will it be something someone could use as a storefront?
I think we touched on that before
Did we? Yeah, a
Right.
little bit.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
with the kiosks.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes.
Yes, the answer is yes, and the answer for the extensiveness of the enchanting system, there's going to be a lot of different things that you can do with enchanting your item and gears with different things.
Yeah.
And that we'll touch on more in a blog in the future, I think. That's a big question. Darth Dell, what will be our plan if servers become overpopulated? Overpopulated. Well, I think that comes down to, you know, when servers are initially being populated, us keeping an eye on, you know, what those populations are looking like,
Right,
and then
right, right.
putting in systems to kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have, you know, population limits and stuff like that
Right.
to prevent overpopulation. So, I mean, that will be pretty standard from what you've probably seen. We're not going to do anything super special there. You know,
Yeah, we're just gonna we're gonna keep an eye on server populations, and as those server populations start to near the kind of limit that we want to see from a concurrent user basis and an overall account registration, we're gonna we would put some soft caps in relating to the creation of new characters and stuff
Right.
like that. It's a toughie.
it's more of a preventative thing
Right.
than a, you know, reactive thing.
Yes.
Because being overpopulated is a bad situation. So avoid it from the begin with and everything's happy.
Absolutely. BC Giant. Will a corruption system be enough to prevent people getting around the death penalty and keep killing?
We believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
So we have alphas and betas to test, okay? And we're going to have a lot of alphas and betas. In those, we are going to test, obviously, a huge component of our game is going to be, you know, how the PvP system relates to
Right.
players and stuff like that.
And what people are doing to try and circumvent it.
Absolutely.
And, you know, designing against that.
And I think that, from the get-go, I believe that our flagging system and corruption system will be absolutely enough to prevent players from getting around the death penalty or keep killing. I don't want to get into how it works again because we've done it a few times, and there's a lot of videos in previous streams where we've discussed the flagging system, and corruption in general is just a heavy deterrent to murder. It keeps that potential there for the obscure scenarios in which case it comes about, but at that point, the person committing the murder is really taking the brunt of the risk for whatever
Right.
opportunity
And it's
they're
a
going to.
compounding deterrent,
Yeah, it's a
so-
compounding
right.
deterrent. That's a good point. Like, the more corruption you accrue, the worse it gets.
Right.
Okay, Mycroft. What currently released game is Ash's combat design most comparable to, and what will be different about it? Well, the currently released game we're most comparable to is Ashes of Creation. It's released in the office.
It is released in the
you go.
office.
So that's technically released.
Technically correct.
To give an answer to that, I don't really want to say it's most akin to any other game because we're doing something really different with it from a hybrid perspective.
yeah.
As soon as you say a title,
Yeah, I
Right.
kind of
You
lock
get all that comes with it.
everybody's ideas
right, you
into
get everything
that.
that comes with that title, and it's okay. So combat, as we said in a previous stream, is a very intimate system. It's the system that players are most going to be interacting with in their gameplay, and moving around in the world, whether from PvE or PvP's perspective. So it's something we are dedicating a lot of time and effort to get right in and make sure that it feels good and fluid, and it's
Yeah.
going to involve skill and strategy, and the animations are going to be top tier, and the skill effects are going to be cool while not being too freaking crazy, so that it every single thing you do is a
It's just
nuclear
fireworks
explosion.
everywhere.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Although I have made some nuclear explosions. They're
Oh,
pretty
no.
cool looking.
We have nuclear bombs in the game? No. What's the next one? Who is this?
Can
Did I lose it?
Dragon S, are you? Can people steal stuff off of your freehold?
Steal stuff?
Steal stuff. No.
No.
No. There's no stealing in freeholds. Yeah. I can't think of any situation where that.
Oh,
Well,
they
yeah.
destroy the node.
Yeah, if they destroy the node,
It's a different story.
but they're not stealing.
Right.
If you had storage potentially of materials, maybe.
Materials probably only.
Yeah, only materials.
But like
or,
to the
or like-
question of like, no one's going to be walking up to your freehold during a random time that you're offline
Right,
and
no.
stealing a
Yeah,
chair
absolutely
from your
not,
house.
yeah.
Like, that's
Stealing a
not
chair
right.
is
I
your
don't know.
field.
But I want that chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, like, you can't have my
What if it's
chair.
an awesome chair? You know? What if it's a throne?
Right.
No, anyways, no, there's no stealing. Yeah, there's no stealing. Who's next?
Savannah, can we give more info about the breeding animal husbandry mechanics? Do specific mounts have unique traits you can breed, etc.?
Yeah, mounts
Yeah.
have unique traits that you can try to breed and get that genetic trait within the next mount. You're going to see unique creatures that will exist very rare out in the world that you could try to capture and tame to breed with something else.
Yep.
It's going to be a really cool mechanic and system there that players will be able to experiment with, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's not going to be just relegated to mounts either. Like there's going to be,
Pets.
Pets and livestock and stuff that you can also improve the stats of. And, so
Dawnbreaker Ox, maybe?
maybe.
who
Wait,
knows?
what is our feeling about oxes? That was yaks.
Oh, that was
yaks. No.
It was yaks.
Very
No,
anti-yak.
There's no yaks. No yaks.
No yaks.
Well, just Matt can't have
Yaks
yaks.
are OP.
Okay, sorry. there
Ashen,
actually might be yaks. Who knows? I don't know.
Ashen65. Will animation canceling be used as a combat mechanic? This is not a fighting game, and it's if your ability is available, you will be able to use it. You're not going to be locked into animations for the most part for most of the game. I can't think of any. I say most because I can't think of any exceptions. There might be, but yeah, that's not going to be a part of combat at this point.
Right. Will there be a portable campsite mechanic? I think so.
Yeah, we've
yes.
talked about
We've
that.
talked
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
It relates similarly to how, or as I would say, similarly, to how
Similar.
to how inns and taverns work, where if you go there and you eat something and you're within the proximity of that location, you'll get some bonus or boon or whatever. The campsite is kind of like on a micro scale of that, where like you can lay down potentially a campsite, you can do some things there, and then you're going to get a benefit or boon when you remain within a certain area of
Right.
the campsite or something.
Leptos. How do we plan to make bards unique and as good as other classes?
Jeffrey Bard, who went to Bard College and plays a bard in RPGs, can answer that question, Mr. Bard.
I don't see why they wouldn't be as good as other classes. It's all about design, right? Like, there's this, I don't know, specter, this thing that makes people think that bards are not good at anything, right? Like that's the problem with perception.
I love
right,
bards.
and it's a problem with other games that have designed sort of the hybrid, muddled, I don't have a role kind of problem, and that's what we're going to be fixing in this, is making the support class be a class that is engaging and
And they don't have to be musical.
they don't have to be musical.
Right.
They don't have to have a lute.
Yes.
They don't have to be.
They could dance, they could theater, they could storytell, they could,
They can inspire people with their words,
Yes.
right? So it's about designing for that role and making that role important and meaningful, and not just, oh, you don't do as much DPS, so you don't fit in here. We want a bard not being in a party to be something that you miss, and that also means that they have engaging combat to do. They're not just clicking on their buffs and that's all they do, and that's all they do to affect the fight. We want them to be on the front lines. We want them to be affecting things.
And
so.
now we've just effectively skewed the population of all classes across our servers. to
Bards
bards.
OP?
Right.
Oh, wow.
There you
Really?
go.
Yeah,
Bard
it's
OP
happening.
confirmed.
Unbelievable. That's not true, people. What's the next one?
Ponzini. Will summoners get to choose the look of their summons?
Ooh, summons. Now we're talking summoners.
Yeah, now this is
Okay,
Steven's.
so summoners are going to have some customization over the way that their summon appears. It's also going to be some customization from a cosmetic appearance that'll be available within the game to customize that appearance. It's going to reflect your race that you're a part of. It's going to affect the evolution of that summon based on your archetypes that you may choose. You're going to have shadow summons if you're a summoner with a rogue potentially. It's going to be a very character-defining aspect of your summons relating to how you as a character represent yourself.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah. Next one.
Sigari.
We kind of answered.
Cigar.
What?
We
I
did
said we kind of
answer
answered
that.
that.
How long will it take to make a
Redeemar-
sword and what's
yeah,
full
we
price?
answered
Yeah, we
that
already answered that.
Red.
Redeemer Osha.
Redeemer Rosha.
How will one learn to skill to ride? Will they buy a book, do a quest, etc.?
You come out of the womb riding a horse.
Come out of the womb riding a horse.
Confirmed.
Right? Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Right out the portal.
Right out of the, you
Right out
just
of the
jump onto
portal.
a horse.
Right.
Okay, so on live stream. Oh no. Okay.
This is happening.
What's the
Stop.
Okay. Voker. Will the game be translated into other languages such as French? Oui, je parle seulement un peu français. Or will there be server languages?
So that is a goal of ours. We want to. It's going to depend on how far we get with the.
I think the general, I mean, obviously it depends on a few things.
Right.
But I think that our goal moving forward is going to be, yes, we want to bring this to the populations that are interested,
Right.
In the regions that are interested, and that's going to involve localization efforts such as translation. So, yeah.
Yeah. As far as server languages go, we're not sure though.
Oh, like defining a
be,
server.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll
right.
be client based, so you'll be able to set your language options.
Right.
But as far as will there be just a dedicated French server?
Official French server.
I don't know about that. I don't
I mean,
want
there's
to.
going to be official region servers,
right.
obviously.
There'll be a European server.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
And unofficially, there might be a French server, but we don't want to really lock people down that way.
All right. Very cool. I think that's all of our questions.
Yeah.
We made it through.
We actually did.
Holy moly.
pretty okay.
We're good on time, 4:10.
Or
Not
10,
too
we
bad.
went over, but it's all right.
Very cool.
Hope everybody is still with us.
Yeah, sorry it went a little long. Next week we have Agilos from the Dungeon Crawler Network.
Next week.
On Friday.
I'm sorry,
On
Friday.
Friday.
I'm telling you, dude.
I know. No, I know. I'm right there with you. It's been 2 weeks.
The day after tomorrow, we have Agilos from the Dungeon Crawler Network, and he'll be joining us for some Q&A. Guys, we really appreciate you tuning in, and again, we cannot express enough our absolute gratitude when it comes to the support that we've seen through this Kickstarter. We appreciate it wholeheartedly. And,
You guys have been absolutely incredible, way more than our wildest dreams.
way more.
So yeah, hope you don't get tired of us saying thanks because it is
Oh, wow.
amazing. Wow.
Yay.
That's impressive.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. Okay. All right, guys, have a great day, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see